Dynasty quarterback tier list post NFL draft. I have 32 quarterbacks and 8 tiers for you today. If you like the content, give us a like and subscribe. We're 10 away from 400 subscribers. At 500, I believe we're going to be doing a giveaway, some kind of jersey or something of that caliber giveaway. So to make sure to give us a subscribe, and when we hit 500, we'll be giving you details on how to enter into that giveaway. So we are ranking, like I said, 32 quarterbacks, 8 different tiers. Dynasty quarterbacks. This is for the 2024 post, 2024 season and beyond. This is post NFL draft, so rookies are included. And we're starting off with tier 1 like we always do. And to me, there's 2 guys that should belong in tier 1. Last year, there was 3, I would say. I think Jalen Hurts was in this tier, maybe. This year, I think it belongs to 2 guys as of right now, Allen and Mahomes. I don't really think there's an argument to take another quarterback over one of those 2 guys. To me, those 2 guys should be going 1, 2, whichever order you'd like in most dynasty startup drafts. Maybe you're a Texans fan and you love CJ Stroud, that's fine. Eagles fan, you love Jalen Hurts, that's fine. But these are the guys I believe that should be going 1, 2. Now, getting into tier 2. I have a pretty big tier 2. I have 4 quarterbacks for you in tier 2. I have Mr. MVP Lamar Jackson. The rushing ability, we've seen it multiple years now of Lamar Jackson putting up good numbers. He's never going to stop running the ball, at least not anytime soon. Finished as a top 5 quarterback last year, was QB4. Last game as like a top 7 guy, finally stayed healthy. So I think Lamar deserves to be up there. I still believe Jalen Hurts deserves to be up there. CJ Stroud deserves to be up there, in my opinion. One of the best, maybe the best rookie season we've ever seen in terms of not just fantasy production, but just overall quarterback production. He's going to be awesome. I don't have him quite in that tier 1 that close to the tier 1 that some people would maybe do, just because of the lack of rushing ability for fantasy football. But that has nothing to do with his God-given talent of throwing the football. And then I still have Burrow on this list. I know it's easy to forget about Burrow, and there's an argument to be made as Burrow over CJ Stroud, in my opinion. It was can we start using the injury concern thing with Burrow? Maybe, but I just think we've seen Burrow before throw 35 plus touchdowns and like 4,500 yards. He has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is still there. They replenished with Jermaine Burton. I still like Burrow in the situation he's in. And I think there is an argument to be made for Burrow over CJ Stroud. Into tier 3 we go. In tier 3, I have Justin Herbert. He's kind of a fringe tier 2 to me, but I think it's a little bit overblown. The fact that the Chargers are going to run the ball 40 times and throw the ball 15 times a game. I think it's a little bit overblown. Yeah, are they going to pass it as much as they have been with Justin Herbert the last couple of years of 600 or 700 passing attempts? No, they're not. But he could just be very efficient. And touchdowns, if you play in a 4-point, are one touchdown's worth 100 yards passing, right? And he could just have a plus touchdown year. Even Lamar had a 37 passing touchdown year with Greg Roman in a heavy run offense. So I think it's a little bit overblown. I think he's going to be very, very efficient. I think the offense is going to be much better. He's going to have a lot more touchdown opportunities. I think he's going to run the ball a little bit more. Maybe get to that 400-yard rushing plateau and maybe a few rushing touchdowns. So I still have him in tier 3. And I have our first rookie, Caleb Williams, in tier 3. Caleb Williams could easily move up this list because he's in the perfect situation. He has all the weapons that he needs. And he has a Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, Roshan Johnson, DeAndre Swift. He has all the weapons. They upgraded the offensive line a little bit. So he has all the abilities there. We'll see year 1 how he does. I think he's going to do very well. I also think he has a solid rushing floor, better than like a Stroud and Burrow. of about 400 yards or so. And that really does make a difference. When you start rushing for about 20 to 25 yards a game, again, if you play a 4 point per passing touchdown, you're getting half a touchdown every game from your rushing. 2.5 points might not sound like a lot. It is a lot. And so I think he has that in his game as well, kind of like Mahomes does. In tier 4, I have 4 guys. I have Anthony Richardson here. We saw the potential in just a couple games last year. The guy was really good for fantasy just in the couple games. That's the potential to see. Kyler Murray, I think, is going to have a big bounce back season if he can stay healthy, and he could push up into this next tier. So could Anthony Richardson. There's just concerns there for Richardson. We want to see him be able to stay healthy. For Kyler, kind of the same thing. We want to see him get back to, what was it, his 2020 season when he had like 4,000 passing yards and I think like 27 touchdowns, and he was running the ball. So we want to see him get back to that level. If he does, then he could easily move into tier 3. I have Jordan Love in here as well. Jordan Love was awesome last year. I mean, he was flat out awesome. I think he was second in touchdown passes in the league with 32. He had over 4,000 passing yards. He can run just a little bit. Like, he's not a statue. He ran for 250 yards. He could get to 300, 350 pretty easily. He has a load of weapons there with Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, Josh Jacobs is there. So he's just in a really, really good situation. I will say, out of all the quarterbacks that I've listed so far, including the last guy in tier 4, Jordan Love to me has the kind of like the lowest. He's the least likely to have like a difference making, get to that 23, 24, 25 point per game type of season. All these guys I think can get there, get to 23 plus points per game in fantasy. I don't know if Jordan Love can get there because I just don't know. Is he going to be a 40 touchdown guy? Now, if he does run for close to 400 yards, then he can get close to that 23-point threshold. But I don't know if he's going to do that. Jaden Daniels is also on this list. Again, the rushing ability is just so powerful. We saw Justin Fields. What was it? Justin Fields in 2022, was it? Was QB6, missing 3 games and throwing for like 3,000 yards or whatever Justin Fields threw for that year because he could just run the ball. So now, does that mean you have a short shelf life? Do teams, you can't win that way. You need to be able to pass the ball, right? Like, that's why Justin Fields is kind of out of a job because he didn't show maybe advancements in his passing. But in terms of fantasy, we're going to get at least 2-3 years of Jaden Daniels, potentially rushing for 700, 800, 900 yards. It's a possibility. I think he's a pretty good passer too, a pretty talented passer. So I'm not super worried about that. And he falls into a decent situation with some decent weapons. So I put Jaden Daniels in here as well, just for his rushing ability. Moving on into tier 5. This is kind of the last, this is my last group of guys that can be true difference makers at the position. And again, when I'm talking difference makers, I'm talking, can you average 23 plus points per game in fantasy? Can you do that? 22, 23, 24. A lot of guys can average 17 to 20 points per game in fantasy at quarterback position. Not many guys can get above 22 points per game, and that's where you start to become a difference maker. You look at Josh Allen last year, 24.2. Jalen Hurts at 22. In 2022, we had Patrick Mahomes over 25. Jalen Hurts over 25. Josh Allen over 24. Right? Burrow had almost 22. So I'm talking about those kind of seasons. To me, this is the last group of players as of right now where we stand that I think can do that. To me, that's Trevor Lawrence. Been disappointing. He's been very disappointing for being the number 1 overall pick and like the greatest thing we've seen since Andrew Luck. Hasn't lived up to it. I still think there's a chance. There was just something that was off last year. And trust me, before the season going into it, I was the biggest anti-Jacksonville. Everyone crowning them as this offense is going to be rival the Chiefs and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, we got to hold our horses here. We just haven't seen that. And now I think we've swung back a little bit too far. I think Trevor Lawrence has a good possibility of having a difference-making season this year. This is kind of his make or break. If he doesn't do it, if he doesn't get north of 20, 21 points in fantasy, then he's just never going to be that guy, in my opinion. This is his last season to prove it. We're talking fantasy. We're not talking about real NFL. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a job for the next 10 years. Like, easily. He's going to have a job for the next 10 years. So there's value there, too. But in terms of fantasy, like, will he be that difference maker? This is the last year. Dak Prescott, to me, deserves to be in here. And I know that sounds a little strange potentially, but, the fact of the matter is, like, Dak's been, I think, 2 of the last 3 years, he's been the top 5 quarterback. He averaged 20.7 points per game last year. In 2021, he was a top 7 quarterback, averaging 20.7 points per game. So he's right there. Maybe he can't get to that true 22 plus points per game threshold, but he's going to give you he has the potential to put up 20, 21 points per game. So I do put Dak in here, and I put Drake May. I really like Drake May. I think there's a chance that, he's better than a guy like Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, that he's maybe the second best. And there's always a chance he's better than Caleb. But I think there's a solid chance that he's just a really good quarterback. And we kind of overlooked him a little bit just because he does make some head scratching things. I know he's on the Patriots, but this is not the Patriots of old. They brought in weapons. They brought in 2 wide receivers and 2 offensive linemen in their first 4 picks to support Drake May, right? So I think they're going to build that team up around him. He has rushing ability. To me, he has like Daniel Jones, like Josh Allen, like rushing ability of 500, 600, 700 yards. So that gives him a chance to be a true difference maker as well. Now, what we get into is like, these are the QB2s. Any of these guys, if they are my QB1, I feel okay. Maybe this list is a little bit, obviously the rookies, that's a different story. But, the veterans that are up here, if they're my QB1, I don't feel terrible about going into it. If I have Trevor Lawrence as my QB1, hopefully I have like someone pretty high up as my QB2. But now we get into, these are guys that I don't really want as my QB1, but I'm super happy with them as my QB2 in a super flex. These are guys like Brock Purdy, right? Brock Purdy. Now we do got to acknowledge, I don't know if the 49ers or whatever are completely sold on Brock Purdy. I think he's going to do fine. But if they fall short once again, now I don't even think it was Brock Purdy's fault that they fell short in the Super Bowl, but maybe they want that difference maker at the quarterback position. We'll see. But again, we kind of saw like the perfect season from Brock Purdy last year in 2023. And just in terms of like, this was a great season that he had, right? I don't really see it getting much better than that. 4,300 yards and 31 touchdowns, which is fantastic, by the way, but it's 19.2 fantasy points per game, right? Doesn't even crack the 20 point per game because he doesn't really run the ball. And I don't know if he's ever going to get to 4,500 plus and 40 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to get there with how the 49ers want to operate. Happy to have him as my QB2. Don't want him as my QB1. Tua is in that same boat. Now, Tua did lead the league in passing last year. But again, no rushing ability whatsoever. He needs to throw 4,700 yards and 40 touchdowns to even sniff getting to what these guys can do because of mostly because of their ability to run the ball. So I don't know if Tua is going to get there as well. I really don't know. And there's still uncertainty. Is he even going to be on Miami beyond this year? They haven't paid him unless I missed something. Jared Goff falls in this list. Perfect QB2 in my opinion. I want him as my QB2. It's nice, consistent, solid play. Give me 18 points a game. I don't want you as my QB1 though, right? I want a difference makers at the QB1 position. Kirk Cousins also falls into this list. Yeah. Nice, solid player. He's going to have a couple more years. He was averaging 19.3 points per game before he got hurt. He's always been kind of like a top 12 quarterback year in and year out. QB7 in 2022, QB11 in 2021. And then again, he was averaging over 19 points per game. One of his best seasons actually last year before he got hurt. So he belongs in this group. And then I have a rookie in JJ McCarthy. Don't know if JJ McCarthy is going to get to the level of like a Jaden Daniels, even of a Drake May. It's possible. It is very possible. And he's athletic and he can run the ball. But as of right now, the NFL kind of showed their hand, right? They said to us, there's a significant, a pretty decent gap between Drake May, QB3, and JJ McCarthy, right? No one, even all those teams that needed a quarterback, Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, even the Saints, they all were in range to move up to 5, 6, 7 to draft JJ McCarthy, and no one did. So that kind of showed you just what the NFL thought of him a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean he can't develop, and he has great weapons, great situation. We'll see. We will see. He could get up into this next level, but as of right now, I'm fine with him in tier 6. And then Bryce Young, I still think belongs here. I know a lot of people are down on Bryce Young. Part of the reason why is because CJ Stroud did so well, which is kind of weird, but I still have hope in Bryce Young. I love that they brought in Dave Canales, who turned around Geno, helped turn around Baker Mayfield. I think they're going to change this offense. It's going to be very quick, fast-paced offense. Get the ball out of your hands. You have Jonathan Brooks there. You brought in Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen's there, Jonathan Mingo, Xavier Legette, Jatavian Sanders. You brought in all these weapons, man. Like, we're going to know if Bryce Young's going to be an average to above average starter in this league, or if he's going to be a bust. We'll know after this year. Still think he has potential, though, to be maybe not a difference maker, but get into that 17, 18 points per game, type of player. That's it from tier 6. Going into tier 7, I have some guys that I'm still kind of fine with. Besides the rookies, well, let's hold off on Bo Nix. I'm going to start with guys like Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson. I'm still okay with these guys as my QB2, but I need to have a solid QB3. Ideally, I want these guys more as my QB3. But if I have them as my QB2, and I have another solid, like if I have, let's say, Hurts, Stafford, and Mayfield, then I'm pretty happy with that quarterback room, right? I do want a solid QB3 behind these guys, or I want to have an elite QB1. I think these guys, Mayfield, we saw last year, one of his better seasons. We'll see how he does this year, but if he can average me 17 points per game, I'll take that as a QB3, hopefully, or a low-end QB2. Stafford's kind of in that same boat. He has a little bit more potential, I would say, than most people on this list because we've seen him throw, 40 touchdowns recently. But I just don't know if that's really going to be his game as he kind of enters the twilight of his career. And then Deshaun Watson, I know a lot of people hate the guy, and I get it. I still think there's a chance that he's even maybe potentially in that tier 6 type of player and potentially into tier 5 of could be difference maker. I mean, we saw last year before he busted his shoulder, essentially, his first 3 weeks, 21.7, 12.6, 21.2, and then he got hurt. But we still saw that potential of 21 plus points per game at the position because he does run the ball as well. So this is kind of a make or break year for him as well. He needs to stay healthy, have a full season, and look good for the Browns, or else he's going to plummet. And then we have some younger players here, some younger players that have potential. Bo Nix, top 12 quarterback. I know, again, a lot of people don't like him, but he was a top 12 drafted quarterback. We have to recognize that. He's probably going to start from week 1. He's going to get a couple years to be the starter. And, even if he's QB 17 in points per game, he's going to be valuable. Will Levis, another situation. He's going to get a year of start. And if he's good, if he has a good year, the difference between these guys and these guys that I'm going to put in tier 8 is that, if Aaron Rodgers has a good year, he's not going to move up the rankings very high. If Daniel Jones has another good year, I don't really see him moving up the rankings too high. Same with Geno, Derek Carr, maybe a little bit. I don't see them moving up that high. But if Will Levis has a great year, or even just a good year, 27 touchdown passes, 4,000 yards, rushes for 400 yards, 300 yards, whatever. If Will Levis has a good year, he's going to move from QB 24 to QB 15. He's going to have a big jump. So that's why I have these guys in tier 7. And then Michael Penix, you're going to have to wait on him probably 2 years if Kirk Cousins is healthy. But again, there's a lot of, Atlanta took him, 7th or 8th overall in the top 10. There's a lot of people that said he was the QB3 in this draft class. A lot of teams that really liked him. So the NFL kind of told us what they thought of him. And you're not even going to care if you wait 2 years. You're not even going to care when he's starting, if he's starting in 2026 and he's playing well. So, and then I have my tier 8 guys. Basically, these are all guys that are they're going to get a chance this year. Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson. But I approach these guys year to year. You can argue Stafford belongs down here, but, I think he has a little bit more upside. But I approach these guys year to year. I do. Rodgers could retire after this year if it all goes to shit, right? Daniel Jones could get benched this year if he's not good. Geno, kind of the same thing. Derek Carr, probably there for too many years, but he's not very exciting. I want him as my QB3 at best. Russell Wilson has kind of like a 1-year prove-it deal. And then I have Justin Fields. Here. I still think there's a good chance that he takes over as the quarterback come October if Russell Wilson isn't playing well. And once again, he can run the ball. He was like QB7 in 2022 when he barely passed for, let's see what he actually passed for. He passed for 2,242 yards and 17 touchdowns, and he was QB7 because he can run the ball. It's such a cheat code. It's absolutely a cheat code. So there you have it, guys. That's my tier list. As always, remember, like and subscribe to the channel. We will be doing potentially a subscriber giveaway when we hit 500. Help us get to 400. Appreciate you all. Catch you guys in the next video.